This is the day the Lord hath made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. I wanted to do a part two to what will you do with your power? Just talking again about leadership or those who are in authority or doing business. Psalm 72 again. I'm going to look at verses 1 and 2, and this is a prayer to God to guide and help the king or those who are in leadership or rulership. Please help the king to be honest and fair, just like you, God. Let him be honest and fair with all your people, especially to the poor. Just for a moment, I want to look at verses 1 and 2, because when we look at our systems, when we look at the ways that our systems are arranged, we find that there is some inequity. We have found inequity in all levels of government, in all areas of business, and we need to find ways to be more just and equitable. Equal access does not mean anything, because historically, access had been denied for a whole bunch of folks for a long period of time. And just because I have access does not mean that it has been equitable. So even when we talk about access to resources and access to positions, access to certain levels of society, don't mean a thing if historically we don't talk about the barriers and blocks that have been set in place for those in America who have been people of color. Let's call a spade a spade. Let's talk about redlining. Let's talk about barriers to access to healthcare, access to loans to do businesses. Let's talk about the ways in which there have been hindrances, even towns blown up or torn down or burned to the ground. Let's talk about being fair and just in this Christian nation, this nation that is, again, founded on quote unquote Christian principles, when historically over 1,000 of these folks who have founded America in different areas of government have been found to have enslaved ancestors or have held people in bondage because of their belief that certain human beings were beneath them. Again, I'm talking about how will you use your power? How will you use your influence? How will you use access to, again, positions of authority in just ways or unjust ways? Please help the king to be honest and fair, just like you, oh God. Let us continue to pray for our governments, pray for our businesses. Let us pray, because we see some things that are happening and continue to happen. But after our prayers, let's be like Frederick Douglass. I didn't see any changes until I put some feet to my prayers. There are some things, some actions, some activities that need to happen after your prayers, right? When we think about God being just, we talk about God being equitable. That the rain, God reigns on the just and the unjust. There are some practices that will happen just because. There are some factors that are built into life and life system just because. There are seasons that happen in our lives just because it is an ecosystem. It is this balance system. There's some things that are happening beyond our scope of understanding. And we must understand that God does not go by our understanding or by our rules. But the God causes the rain to rain on the just and the unjust. And if we're going to be equitable, let's look at our values and value systems. And it says our values and value systems are there so that we may walk in right a relationship or right communication with folks. The Egyptian system would say ma'at, or righteousness, justice, reciprocity. There's a lot of different words that go with that, but in balance. How are we doing right or in balance or applying our value systems correctly? And how are we walking in a way that, again, brings the high places low and the low places high? That people are getting equitable treatment. It says, let him be honest and fair with all your people, especially the poor. Remember that historically we have seen certain people groups and folks without access treated in a certain way. God has created all humanity. We are all given a spark of life. And who are we to take advantage of those who lack resources or access to resources? And then once you've taken those things, then you create this ideology or narrative that these folks are justified in being treated as second-class citizens. My brothers and sisters, let us be clear that we're all one or two decisions away from being something that we were not. My brothers and sisters, let's be clear that if it were not for God holding up this world, all we are, even this virus has shown us that we are frail and that our supply chain system is flawed, and that at any given time we are vulnerable to, again, this rain, the just and the unjust. My brothers and sisters, I just want to just talk for a minute. What are you going to do with your power? Are you going to use it in equitable ways, in humanizing the dehumanized, to bring together people and families and communities that again have been dehumanized? We got to work. We got to work. There's so much violence on the land, so much tension in the land, so much dehumanization, people taking advantage of people, killing people, people hurting each other because of our mentality. My brothers and sisters, just because we got power don't mean that we take advantage, that we dehumanize, that we exploit, that we coerce, that we meddle around in other people's business so that we can get an advantage. Let us think and consider, what will we do with our power? Peace.